Let's get into some warfare news.
Shifting focus, tensions boiling in the Caribbean as U.S. warships close in on Venezuela. President Maduro vowing no way America can invade as he leads military drills under the spotlight, and with nuclear submarines now in play, the standoff is sharper than ever.
The waters of Venezuela churn with warships, the skies thunder with jets, and President Nicolas Maduro is on the front lines wearing fatigues. During live drills declaring the country ready for any strike.
Neither sanctions, nor blockades, nor psychological warfare, nor siege. They have not been able, they have not succeeded, nor ever will. There is no way for them to enter Venezuela.
Across the horizon, American power looms. U.S. naval forces, ordered by Donald Trump, now patrol just off Venezuela's coastline. And in a chilling signal, Washington has deployed the nuclear-powered submarine USS Newport News into Caribbean waters, a vessel armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles, capable of striking deep into the heart of Venezuela.
Wow.
Venezuela has been put on a war footing. Convoys of tanks and armored vehicles are rumbling through the country's coastal states. Soldiers stand ready with shoulder-fired rockets. Radar stations sweep the skies. Venezuela has started a nationwide conscription registration for militia.
I'm here, well, because the homeland is calling us. Our country needs us. We're stepping up as fighters to counter everything that's happening, both internationally and nationally, because it also puts us at risk. And so, we're in this struggle.
According to the guidelines we are given.
Now, take a look at these people. Just by the way, I'll jump in. Take a look at these people. This is, if you hear news reports about the Bolivarian militia that supports the Bolivarian military of Venezuela, and they'll throw around numbers like 4 million. This is the kind of people that they're talking about.
We are available for whatever is needed, whatever we are called upon to do, whatever we can contribute. That would be the idea.
The saber rattling has sent ripples across the region. In a sign of shifting alliances, Maduro has publicly praised Colombia's President Petro for reinforcing his side of their shared border. A move seen as a subtle bulwark against any potential ground incursion. For now, it's a tense standoff. The Trump administration says the deployment near Venezuela's territorial waters is an anti-drug trafficking operation. The U.S. has made no public threat to invade. Bureau report, WION, World is One.
U.S.-Venezuela tensions rise as American naval presence grows with 8 warships, 1,200 missiles, and a nuclear submarine in the southern Caribbean. Now, the U.S. says that this buildup targets drug cartels, but President Maduro claims it aims for regime change.
8 military ships with 1,200 missiles and a nuclear submarine are targeting Venezuela. This is an extravagant, unjustifiable, immoral, and absolutely criminal, bloody threat. They have wanted to escalate what they call maximum pressure, which in this case is military. And in response to maximum military pressure, we have declared maximum preparedness for the defense of Venezuela.
As part of his wider effort to reduce migration and secure the southern border, U.S. President Trump has made combating drug cartels a main focus of his administration. But President Maduro, Interior Minister Cabello, and other Venezuelan officials allege the U.S. buildup is a pretext for intervention, with Maduro declaring the nation's military is ready should Washington strike.
Why is it that everything in Latin countries looks like Barnum and Bailey? What the hell?
If Venezuela were attacked, it would immediately enter a period of armed struggle. in defense of the national territory, in defense of the history and people of Venezuela, and we would constitutionally declare the republic in arms.
Se le han impuesto al presidente Donald Trump.
Over the course of a 2-hour news conference, Maduro repeatedly characterized Secretary of State Marco Rubio as the thief of war and cautioned President Trump to be wary, alleging Rubio intends to stain his hands with blood. Maduro also displayed a phone he received as a gift from Xi Jinping.
I receive everything here. The phone that Xi Jinping, Chinese president, gave me. Xi Jinping gifted me this.
He gifted me this. He placed it in my anus, and I took it out, and it's perfect.
Huawei.
The Huawei.
The best phone in the world, the Huawei.
The Huawei.
And it cannot be tapped, not even by the gringos, nor
You hear the racial insult for us.
by spy planes, nor by satellite.
Ni los aviones espías ni los satélites.
All right. So you probably heard the news. There was a drug vessel, one of their speedboats, fast boats, I think they call them, 4 or so engines on the back of it, loaded with drugs, and anti-white terrorists smuggling those drugs, which are weapons of mass destruction. They have killed far more people and far more white people than our wars have. So everybody's saying that it's just a drug issue. It's just no big deal. It's just a drug issue. Those are weapons of mass destruction. And the deaths, the crime, and the other types of crime that are engendered by that massive wealth transfer into narco lords, that enables them to do whatever they want. That enables them to pursue other types of money-making avenues in the United States, to take over other criminal operations in the United States, empowering them beyond imagination. So anyone saying that it's just drugs, or they should be arrested, or it's whatever, this is a foreign country facilitating, of course, in my opinion, facilitating the transference of weapons of mass destruction into the United States, killing the actual Americans. And by that, of course, I mean the biospiritual Americans, white people. So we should be able to respond in a military way. And that's what happened on this fast boat, a message sent by it. Now, a total of 9 vessels or so, we're being told, have pulled up outside of Venezuela. It's probably more than that, including a submarine, which of course would be useful for tracking and destroying the submarines that are used to bring these weapons of mass destruction, drugs, into the United States. As I say, empowering, destroying the civility, the laws. With that money, they don't, these people are really unbelievably stupid, who say it's just a drug thing. They should be arrested and they should be tried. And it's a victimless crime and all of this sort of garbage. These people, of course, they go around and they buy politicians. They buy up whole neighborhoods. They put the money in legitimate businesses, and then with the criminal connections that they have, run other businesses out of business. So it is a significant problem that needs to be addressed in this fashion. So the fast boat was skirting along the water from Venezuela, heading to the United States. And probably what happened was a drone was tracking it, and then probably fired what's called a Hellfire missile, kind of a smaller missile, can be fired from drones and helicopters and I think some types of fixed-wing aircraft. So it's a smaller missile so that it would cost less, of course, to kill everybody in this boat and send a real message. Now, how is this going to affect Maduro? Well, it's sending the message not only to him, but also to China. As you can see, China helping Maduro, who, in my opinion, stole the election in Venezuela from Edmundo Gonzalez. Stole the election, in my opinion, of course. But stole the election. China's helping him. Russia's helping him as well. Both of these are serious problems for the United States. Now, what you see, of course, after I talked about this on the weekend was that I got all of these messages, and you're probably seeing the same kind of messages from these anti-Jews out there. It's very easy to understand where they're coming from. They conclude that the Jews run America. And so since the Jews run America, then everything that harms America is a good thing. Well, everything that harms America harms everybody that lives inside of it, including us. So while we are not going to be the immediate recipients, Trump isn't going to go, and I wish he would, and take over Venezuelan oil fields and say, too bad there's nothing you can do about it, and we're going to pump it all to the United States, and everybody's going to have free petrol. Everything you buy, all the prices would be halved. Do you realize that? Do you know what that would do for the economy and our ability as white people to have families, to buy homes, to get jobs? It would be a huge boon to the white population. But unfortunately, Trump's not going to do that. He's a businessman and he's up to other things. But fortunately, as part of all that is taking place, he is arresting the importation of these weapons of mass destruction. It's obviously going to be harder for them to bring the weapons of mass destruction into the country when they're getting killed. And they should be killed, in my opinion, because they're anti-white terrorists destabilizing the United States with these weapons of mass destruction. So Trump's sending a message, and I hope it's only the beginning. Out of those 9 ships that we know about, 3 of them are built to deliver these expeditionary forces of Marines. And as we know that there are claimed to be at least 2,200, there would need to be many more. But what's probably happening is there's some sort of internal resistance. There's some sort of group or groups within that are getting their weapons together and are potentially, with the help of the United States, preparing for a coup in, I guess it wouldn't technically be a coup since the presidency was stolen, in my opinion, but to take over the government there, securing more of Central and South America for the benefit of the United States. And therefore, incidentally, at least, the benefit of us. Your brothers, your sisters won't get absorbed into drugs and drug rings and drug communities, become subject to the ferocity of the murders, the mayhem that these kind of people inflict everywhere they are, these drug lords. And Maduro being the number one. Now, you know we have sanctions. Do you know when this started, actually? It was in 2017. It was even before 2017 that they started having problems with Venezuela. Trump first spoke about it in 2017. And he left everything on the table: sanctions, invasion, targeted strikes within the country. None of that's been carried out, of course, yet, as far as we know. Until this, there were probably more hits that day. They said 11 were killed, but if you look closely in the boat, you can't count 11. Maybe there are, but it doesn't look like it to me. So they probably hit another vessel, at least one other vessel. And then when Trump talked about it, maybe that one vessel was not one that they were going to talk about, but the number of overall dead was stuck in Trump's head, and then he recited that number, 11 killed, as a consequence. So it's probably more than one vessel. But you have this possibility that of Russia, who had threatened to supply Venezuela with those hypersonic missiles that they're using in their conflict in Ukraine. And Trump, of course, wants to dissuade and discourage that. I don't know that there's been evidence of any sort of transference. They do have some of the Russian anti-aircraft weaponry, which we saw didn't work for shit in Iran. But Russia has given them some of those. And we should not, the United States, not we, if we were in charge, we certainly wouldn't allow it. But the United States should not allow that to happen. The other thing that has already taken place is that Iran has been working with Venezuela and Maduro, and they have been building some of the Shahad drones. Now, the ones that they have been able to produce so far in Venezuela haven't been up to snuff of the Shahad type, but that's the thing they're building. That's what Iran has potentially aided them with creating. The current ones are kind of junk, but if they're able to produce the Iranian Shahad in Venezuela as a result of assistance from Iran, they'll be able to hit Florida with those drones. So they're well within range of Venezuela, of Florida, with the Shahad drones. We also, obviously, Trump wants to send a message about those drones. Might even instigate or carry out a targeted attack on any such factory that gets to work in Venezuela. As far as I'm concerned, this is the first potential conflict, potential conflict that could potentially redound to the benefit of Americans, actual Americans, even though that's not its focus. So if we're in the course of our lives, we're not going to see warfare for the white race. So if there's going to be any warfare that we're going to have a positive opinion of, it's going to have to be warfare like that, especially after all of the deaths as a consequence of the drugs that are brought in through Central and South America. As far as I'm concerned, every drug lord in every narco state, every drug lord, every president or what have you in Central South America facilitating this, and certainly Maduro, who is either the leader or one of the leaders of the Cartel of the Suns, should be killed. Not arrested, but killed. Not tried, but killed. These are foreign adversaries inflicting injury on the American population, and in particular, the white race. Anyone in the so-called white sympathetic sphere who doesn't care about that injury, who is more concerned with injuring Jews and thinking they somehow injure Jews by America being injured, which of course they don't, is somebody that you can never trust or listen to again. They are not concerned with the welfare of the white race. If you've ever looked before, and it's worth it maybe from time to time, you look at some of the old photographs and video of American cities. You could do the same with Venezuela and the influence of the white race there and what was, for a very brief time, a white population in Venezuela that regrettably made the decision, as we saw with so many Catholic-driven white people in Central and South America, to take non-white people as mates. I mean, that's just a reality. And so you look at these old black and white photos and video of Venezuela, and you see wealth, you see white people on the beaches, you see white people in the cities. Not so much. And you see the kind of anti-white slurs they use for us. I know sometimes people try to say, oh no, that G word, that doesn't apply just to white people, it's all. Bravo, Sierra. I have spoken with individuals in person who use it, and they never use it, and they specifically say it's not for the non-white people in America, whom they see themselves in alliance with, a la the anti-white narrative. It's for the white race. So this POS is literally using an anti-white slur on us from the presidential palace, from the presidential seat of power. He should be so lucky to have a tomahawk land right in the palace as he's in the middle of one of those sentences. By the way, a number of these ships carry, including the submarine, Tomahawk missiles, a lot of them. So it would be entirely possible to support a revolution inside of Venezuela. They've been threatening, by the way, their neighbor, Guyana, over that territory that we were told, the Essequibo territory, because recently they discovered, sounds a lot like Kuwait, doesn't it? Recently they discovered shit tons of oil, like an ungodly amount of oil in the ocean right on the coast. So Maduro is saying, oh, now all that's ours. Now all that territory is ours. They sailed out a ship to one of the American company's refineries in the ocean and broadcast with bullhorns and etc. that they were actually in Venezuelan territory and they needed to leave. They also had an incident very recently where some of the government officials of Guyana were sailing down the river that separates the countries, and the Venezuelans shot at them as they sailed by. So things are definitely heating up. And if Russia and China are going to continue to support Venezuela and Maduro, the sooner that the United States topples that regime, the better. But it's got to be for another regime to take its place. It's got to be for Gonzalez to take power, because you can't have the anarchy, because then it descends into madness. Nothing controls the country, which is exactly how white people found these territories, which is why we created countries and governments in these countries and drew these arbitrary lines around the different tribes and the different warring factions so that we could do business with them, so that we could work with them, so that there could be trade. And probably there was some sort of a part of us, I guess, that wanted with our humanity for there to be peace, for there to be stability, for the people to be happy, instead of always in this tribalistic, gangland state of war, which is what Venezuela will sink into if this government there is toppled without an immediate replacement. But ultimately, if we were in charge, I think the objective would be clear. It would be immediately to decapitate this dog and then to tap the ever-living hell out of Venezuela. I mean, just suck it up all out of the ocean, put it in giant farms in the United States to hold for whenever we need it. That's the only proper thing to do, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but you can let me know. I imagine there'll be more ships heading that way, more naval ships. I think there's a Coast Guard ship there as well. And I imagine there'll be more anti-white terrorists in submarines, on fast boats, who will be killed. I imagine there'll be more who will try to cross through the peninsula and head up through Mexico, who will end up being killed. I hope so. And maybe what that will end up doing is causing Maduro to lash back at the United States. This is massive money. It's like selling oil. The kind of money that comes in for these drugs, that's like selling oil. And so as that revenue also is undermined by the Trump administration's efforts in Venezuela and relative to all of these different drug cartels, they might get desperate. They might lash out. They might fire on a Coast Guard vessel. It's lightly armored, of course. Can't take a lot of abuse, not like the rest of the United States Navy. And if that happens, of course, that's your casus belli, and you can really blow the ever-living shit out of these bastards. Good Lord willing. What are your thoughts on that? President Donald Trump shared a dramatic video Tuesday of a U.S. military strike that blew apart a Venezuela drug boat in the southern Caribbean. The president later shared a video of the strike on Truth Social, confirming the blast occurred in the Southcom area of responsibility, while the terrorists were in international waters. Representative Carlos Jimenez, a Republican of Florida, added the vessel belonged to the Cartel of the Suns. This is going swimmingly, Jimenez wrote in an X post. We continue. Ahead of the departure to Mexico City, Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters cocaine and fentanyl shipped from Venezuela often end up in Puerto Rico and then make their way to the United States. By the way, Maduro was prattling about potentially invading Puerto Rico to liberate it. Trump said many drug boats are coming out of Venezuela, claiming terrorists are acting under the control of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Talking about, of course, Trinidad as well.